point in his life came in January 16, 2003, when he gave his life to the Lord. Then in 2003 to 2004, Joshua served in Iraq, where he suffered numerous combat-related injuries. Due to his wounds, he ended up in a wheelchair, where Joshua realized he allowed the realness of his injuries to cripple and crush all of his life goals, dreams, and aspirations. He began to reflect on his past, and he realized he had turned many stumbling blocks into stepping stones, which gave him a passion that helped define his purpose. His relationship with the Lord fueled him to teach others how to overcome challenges and make their lives count. Joshua currently wears leg braces and lives with traumatic brain injury due to his combat injuries. He aspires to show others how they too can have freedom in all aspects of life, despite any circumstances, one step at a time. Joshua.
I want to first off thank you for allowing me to be here this afternoon, and I want to thank Ashley for the invitation and all the relationships that I've built over the years. I want to first off, I want to thank my wife and my children. They're not here today, but they're my rock outside of my relationship with Christ. You know what I'm saying? There's three keys that keep me free, guys. There's my faith, there's my family, and there's a beautiful future ahead. And that's what keeps me not focused on myself, but yeah, everything else outside of myself. You know, I tell people live outside of self. And so what I want to talk about, I want to talk about first a little bit about my history. So I'm not a native Texan, as I wish I was. I call myself an art Texan because I was born in Arkansas, and I'm proud to be from Arkansas. I was raised in Arkansas, but I chose to live in Texas, and so that's why I'm an art Texan. But I was born and raised in Arkansas. There I met my high school sweetheart, Crystal, my queen, my jewel. And I got married a day after I graduated high school. But I joined the United States military January of 2001. And we know what happened later on in the year of 2001. It's a tragic time for our country. But yet, through tragedy, there was something that terrifically happened. It brought people together. It brought people together, you know what I'm saying, that would allow people of all race, of all religion, and across every border to come together for something terrific, and that was a cause. And so what I've learned over the years, I've learned that no matter how many times life knocks you down, that you can get back up. And so what I want to talk about, I want to talk a little bit about my journey. I want to talk about a warrior's journey. I want to talk about life after the fall, which is the second book I wrote. I want to talk about some of my life lessons, because here I was as a very young man who was injured in the war at 19 years old when I went over there. And I came back and I had a whole life to live. Here I'm 35 years old now, guys. I've lived through a lot of traumatic events. But through that, my mentor, Dave Reaver, most of you guys know Dave, or have heard of Dave Reaver. Well, he's my mentor. And so I was an associate pastor of a small church in Killeen, Texas. Everyone know where Killeen, Texas is. Most people do. Fort Hood, the largest military base in the free world. And we had that Fort Hood shooting happen. Well, I was there. I was wheelchair bound at the time. I couldn't even walk. But I realized that I could do more than walk. I could stand. And I didn't have to be standing to stand. I just had to show my support, show my love for my community, and terrific things would happen. But my mentor, Dave Reaver, he's taught me many things. One thing he's taught me to no longer cover my scars, but begin to embrace them. And so that's why I stand here today with my leg braces on the outside. Most people will have braces on the inside of their pants, covering something up. And I realize I have nothing to cover up. That I am is, in his words, he's proud of his scars and stripes. And I tell people I'm proud of my stars, and I believe I've earned my stripes. So it was in 2003 that I deployed to Iraq. I was with 4th Infantry Division, the first tour in Iraq. It was during the second wave of the first surge. So what that means is the fact that we were not the first ones in battle, but we were the second ones in battle. And the ones about being in first, in fact, the enemy's not ready for you at all. And so they were pretty much caught with their pants down. They did not know what was going on. So the first groups, they just plowed right through everything. But we had to take care of the secondary positions, and we had to go through all their checkpoints. We had to go through everything that they had set up. They had set up all kinds of bombs for us, roadside bombs, IEDs. They put all kinds of unexploded mortars and munitions in the roads where we had to go off-road for most of our mission. And at the time, our mission, what we were told, we were told we were going to be going to Turkey. Now, I tell people, I prefer chicken, but, But the thing is, we were prepared to go to Turkey. We were not prepared to go to Iraq. But as a 19-year-old kid, I went with a mission. My mission was to do whatever I had to do and come back home to my wife and my princess. And so, I'm telling you, the military didn't teach me how to be a man. I was already a man before I put the uniform on. But it taught me how to have them around. It taught me that my mission comes first, above everything, above myself. And the military taught me to do three things before I took my injuries. It taught me to suck it up, job on, shoot, communicate, and adapt and overcome. And those things have been a fuel that have kept me going when I felt like I was completely on empty. But it was in June of 2003, while performing house raids, that while enemy insurgent, I took a blast to the chest. I was hit with a double barrel shotgun less than 10 feet away. The doctors told me 2 to 5 more pounds of pressure would have broken my sternum, which would have split my heart and killed me instantly. I call it a close call. I didn't realize that my life flashing before my eyes, I could have ended my entire tour that time. But there's something that held me in that mission. It was called pride. And see, pride is good when it's balanced. But my pride was controlling me. So I tell people pride was my kryptonite. It almost killed me. So I'm on the website of Man of Steel, and I have a lot of different attributes, a lot of different things that I've done over the years, despite my injuries. But it was in June of 2003, after I was hit, that I returned my vest in, and I couldn't do raids anymore. So then I became a gunner. And as I was on the gun, I enjoyed it. I got to see all the scenery around me. I didn't see the terror around me. I saw the terrific views around me. I began to see things a little bit different. But it was August 15th of 2003, while we were taking incoming mortar rounds, that as I was running from a mortar that was coming to, and I was running to a safety bunker, I fell while running from the mortar attack. When I fell, it was one of the hardest but yet greatest things that ever happened to me. Because when I fell, there's a 60 millimeter mortar laying at 3 feet in front of me. I ran over my legs and fell. I tripped. And I'll call that my second chance. That mortar round did not explode, but it embedded in gravel. But the gravel became shrapnel, which cut me up from head to toe, laceration in my face, my neck, and my chest. Felt like I had bees stinging me everywhere. I sought medical treatment, and I was once again asked, do you want to go home? And I said, I don't want to go home. My mission's not done. I was put on light duty, and I was told that I could not leave the gates. But back then, we didn't have public plumbing, so we had to burn waste. And I was over the detail that had to burn this waste. 2 weeks later, September 1st of 2003, I was burning this waste. And I did not know that the enemy began to walk mortars into the camp using the light from the fire. As I asked permission to cease the burning, my brigade they denied me ceasing the burning. I had to continue. I had 2 guys with me. I decided that I would take one guy and I would have him go to the top, the Tactical Operations Center, and find out more intel. I didn't want to be a bored crying wolf. And the other guy kept on point with me, and we continued the detail. That guy did not come back. That soldier did not come back. Back then in 2003, we did not have warning signals and sirens that would let us know when incoming or outcoming, or when we were having enemy close, or when we were taking incoming attacks. So there was no warning system set up. We were the warning system. We were the ones that had to be in our own positions at that time and tell when the enemy was close. To make a long story short, I decided that I would go ahead and flip over the stuff and take a run for it. I allowed the soldier that was with me, because I was the second fastest runner in my battalion. I ran my 2 miles in 9:47 just short. I was very athletic before my injuries. And I decided that I'd let the soldier with me go ahead and run for the bunker. As I began to run for the bunker, I took a side blast of an 82 millimeter mortar as I ran past the latrine. I took light shrapnel on my right leg, and all I remember is feeling the warmth in my leg, but I knew I had to get back up because there were still mortars coming into the camp. I got back up, continued running from my bunker. Before I made it to my safety bunker, I fell into what's called a spotter hole. It was a 10 to 12 foot chamber. I hit my head going down, which knocked me out cold. And I landed on my ankle sideways and straight on my kneecaps. I ended up breaking my right ankle in 4 places, my left ankle 3, shattered both my knees, splinter fracture in both my legs, and 3 breaks in my tailbone. I just like to say that Humpty Dumpty lives. I say that, guys, because, see, I did not realize the realness of my injuries. I didn't realize that, because, see, the military taught me suck it up, drive on. Shoot, move, and communicate, and adapt and overcome. So that's what I did. And I realized that because I did not complain, the military did not see a problem. They did not see that I had injuries that were so severe. And when I got back in 2004, in 2005, I decided I would transition for the military. But there was something called WTU, Warrior Transition Unit, or Warrior Transition Battalion, that was not existing until 2006. So right then it was called Med Hold. What they do is they put all the military individuals in one unit. The ones that are not adapting to military regulations, ones that are going through disciplinary actions, and the ones that have been injured. They were all put in one unit. And I was in a rapid deployment unit, so they were going to patch me up and send me back over as administration or something. So I decided that I would transition from the military and join the ministry. And that was my healing. I became a pastor. I began to speak a little bit, but there were still injuries that I didn't talk about that would happen. And in the beginning of 2004, I was put into full leg braces from the severity of my injuries. I was given a wheelchair, and I was told that I would never be able to walk again. I decided that I would leave the wheelchair in the parking lot and told my wife, let's go home. I told you I was very prideful, and it almost killed me. But it was in beginning of May of 2009 that I had 2 brain hemorrhages and a stroke, which left me in a wheelchair bound for almost 3 years. At that time, my wife, she said, you have to look through your pain, you have to find a passion, and you got to receive a purpose. So she told me, she said, you know what? If you're going to act like a child, I'm going to treat you like a child. And she said, you need a timeout, and I need a timeout. So she put me in the corner, locked me down, and walked out the room. She did it just to give me a timeout, but she was done. She was completely done. But yet, that's not the rest of the story. The rest of the story is when she gave me that little rest, I began to reflect on my past. I began to realize that how I saw myself was not how God saw me, not how I needed to be. And that through my weakness, I had made myself weak rather than looking through my weakness and finding something stronger in me to keep me going. So while I was in that wheelchair, after me and my wife, we had our time together. Our time separated just for moments. Felt like it was hours, if not days, if not years. But it was a time that I had to look in the mirror and I had to face what I saw. I didn't like what I saw. And I had a voice inside me that says, do you like what you see? I said, no. And he said, what do you see? I said, I see a victim. And that voice said, I see a victor. And I realized I had to change everything about myself. Just because I have pain does not mean my pain has me. I have my pain. And I've learned in life. I wrote this first book called Some of My Life Lessons. I wrote this with 2 fingers because I was crippled on my left side. I could only use 1 finger, and I could not coordinate a hand or a finger, so I crippled my right hand to be chopsticks to write this first book. It's called Some of My Life Lessons. And all it is talking about just lessons of life that I learned. But it became my seed of hope. And from that, after meeting my mentor, Dave Reaver, and traveling a little bit with Dave, and doing some other things like that, and he endorsed this book called Life After the Fall. And that's what it's all about. This first book was talking about keep the fire burning. It's talking about the sense of finding purpose outside of self, and looking over yourself, your circumstance, and your situation, and seeing people that are hurting, and sharing your hope with them. That second book, Life After the Fall, I realized that after writing this book, that the purpose of this book would be that falling is obvious, but failure is optional. And then my wife wrote a story. It's a children's book. It's called Some of My Life. It's called The Adventures of Steel. And this is called Breaking Out. And this was amazing because this is mine and my wife's story put into a children's book that all ages can be using. these are just some of the tools that we've come up with over the years. But what I want to talk about is I want to talk about our organization called Still Hope. And it's mine and my wife's vision. I came up with the acronym of STILL, which is standing, transforming, encouraging, enlightening, and loving. To me, it means legacy. And my wife came up with the acronym of HOPE, which is helping others, problems erased. So together, we came up with Still Hope. And all it is Still Hope is a nonprofit organization that's centered around helping others. Our mission is to build, equip, and empower others to be people who will continually be still, which means be a legacy, but it's believe, expand, stand, transform, encourage, and light and love all around the world. In 2013, we came up with the vision of Still Hope. In 2014, we were waiting for our 501(c) status, everything to happen. While I was traveling with Dave, helping him with his organization, raising funds, and raising awareness and speaking. As everything came together, we very quickly realized that we would be doing things overseas as well. So the Lord put in my spirit that I would be going and starting an NGO in Lagos, Nigeria. I didn't know nothing about Lagos, Nigeria. I just saw a need for sanitation and education. It was less than 2 weeks after we started our NGO in Lagos, Nigeria, is when Boko Haram took the 276 girls captive. So very quickly, we began to work with things outside of our sphere of influence. Things that we didn't know anything about. But we just began to provide the resources, and we begin to see things happen. In 2015, I started my office in Hearst under the direction of my mentor Dave Reber, where his office is right beside Cavaliers, and I have a suite up there. And we began to work with the homeless down at Unity Park. We began to find out just different needs in our area, began to give to different orphanages, local, ACH, the Christ Haven, other aspects like that. I began to give out my books to the soldiers and militaries around the globe, just to inspire healing and hope. I began to work especially with grief and working with loss as well, and it's a great need. I began to work with a lot of the suicidal aspects of mental health, and began to work with the incarcerated. I began with Vet Court. I became one of 5 mentors in all of DFW for the Veteran Court Program, Veteran Treatment Court Program is what you guys know it as. And so, but in 2017, and this is what I'm here to talk about today, is Project Freedom. Project Freedom came together through me purchasing a property in Mineral Wells, Texas. And I saw this property, and when I first saw it, I was like, first off, I can't afford this. It's too much. I have my own property. I have all this other stuff going on, and I'm doing this on my own disability. I'm doing this, all my speaking funds, everything like that goes right back to the organization. I don't make a dime. No, we all run through volunteers. No one gets paid. Our travels are paid for, but every book that I sell, all the money goes right back into the fund. Other than $1 goes to a fund for me and my wife just to have as a retirement in the future. So this is not about me, guys. This is about what I can do outside of me. And so I came up with the concept of Project Freedom, soon to be Still Freedom Ranch, which is a place to recover, rediscover, rebuild. I bought 9 acres in the city of Mineral Wells. And I was told it was in the county, but later on I learned it was in the city. This property, this is what I knew of the history of the property. That it belonged to a World War II veteran. That it had been burnt and it was vandalized. That's all I knew. So I bought everything I could around the property. So the property came with 8 acres, and I bought everything around it, which became 9.5 acres. And that became a property that I had a vision from day one for 3 things to happen there. To preserve the history, to restore the value, and repurpose it for others. So I preserved this place so we could build together a place of healing and hope that we could share with others. My vision is to build a ranch, a retreat, and provide resources for not just Mineral Wells, but yet for all DFW and all around the globe, where we can work with the red, white, and blue concept. And I came up with a concept called Steel Stars. I know I'm giving you guys a lot of information, and I want to I'm going to break it down, and then after that, we're going to do a Q&A. Is that okay? Okay. But I came up with I started looking globally at what do they call someone who was injured, and something happened, now they didn't make it back. What do they call the families? And as I looked into the military, I saw the Gold Star family. And a lot of us are very familiar with the Gold Star family. But then I said, okay, well, what about the fire? See, my dad was in the Forestry Commission. He never could join the military because of medical. My dad joined the Forestry Commission, and my dad was injured and had a heat stroke in 1987. My dad later became Smokey the Bear. He was one of the Smokey the Bears, dressed up around in the suit, and went around the states. That was my dad. My dad has spinal meningitis and degenerative arthritis. My dad has a crippling back. My dad has a pension that when he dies, my mom receives nothing. I asked in fire, what is the fallen families? I mean, what are the families called that are left when someone dies? Whether in a fire, maybe later on, COPD, something happened, whatever. What are they called? And I found out they're called fallen families. And the police are called surviving families. But I wanted to come up with something that would bring everything together under one name. So under a lot of meditation, I came up with steel stars. Steel, meaning legacy, but stars is something that directs us and shines, right? It gives us direction. So steel stars represent the fallen families of the red, white, and blue, and I'll break it down real quickly. The red is forestry, fire, and first responders. The white is who's seen more trauma than anybody but never gets credit for it. And we're just now really understanding the realization of the impact that the white has on this world. That's medical, mental health, and in the spiritual side, ministers. But then you also have blue. We all know blue is law enforcement, but I like to include the law enforcement with the military branches and their families. So this is the surviving families of the red, white, and blue. And so together we can build Still Freedom Ranch. And I'm working on a penny budget, and I'm not asking a dime from anybody here, but I'm asking you, will you help us make this happen? I'll do whatever it takes. And I'm going to end with something very powerful before I have the Q&A, if that's okay. I'm going to show you that you can have somebody like myself I'm legally paralyzed, I'm a paraplegic that can walk with the use of braces. But I was told I'd never walk again, I'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, period. Through that, I took 2 fingers, ended with 2 hands, and now I'm going to finish doing push-ups on just 2 thumbs. Because I'm going to show you, no matter what happens in life, you can find purpose outside of self. No matter how many times you get knocked down, you can get back up again. And when you live outside yourself, there's not one thing you can't do with finding people, connecting people that have passion, that can see through pain, and that has a purpose. That's priceless, my friends. So that's why I am the Man of Steel, and that's why I'm proud to be here today, standing before you in such a great crowd. So thank you guys. At this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to illustrate those simple push-ups that are not simple, and I'm going to show you that how hopefully this next year I'll be able to break the world record of the most consecutive push-ups solely on thumbs with 30 kilograms of weight on my back. With being 100% disabled combat veteran. So thank you. Regular push-ups. These are called flat fingers, which is on the nerve endings. These are 2-finger push-ups. This is Bruce Lee push-ups. This is thumbs. Just because I can. I don't know where they're wrong, but I like to now do it just a quick Q&A. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
So I work with Congresswoman Kate Granger, and in our office we have a lot of casework, and we work with the VA and all the departments. My question is about your ranch.
Yes.
Do you have people living there now, and is it something that we can refer to, or what does that look like? Is it temporary or permanent living?
Yeah. Okay, so basically the vision is actually, it's not going to be a living aspect of it. We are looking to have other properties in the future to do that. what we're looking to do is we're looking to bring the resources and make it a retreat. So it's going to be a getaway. At first, it will be actually day classes, where they'll just come in for the day, then they'll go for a weekend, and eventually as we get everything up and running, we'll have cabins and so on like that, or it actually will be a retreat for 1 to 7 days. It's a getaway, but we can connect them with the right resources, but we're also going to work a transition. So if they don't have a place with the resources that we already have, I'm on the board of VETCO, Veteran Coalition Tarrant County, so we can bring all the resources together, and we can have a place where people can receive healing, but also be inspired to have hope. And then after that, it will grow to other things. And I already have plans to do that in the future as well.
Well, that's awesome, so let's talk.
Okay, that's good. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm at a church where they have something called Veterans Freedom Retreat.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard of it before.
I've been there.
Oh, you have?
I was in the first class in Texas. I'm also one of their ambassadors.
Okay, well, I was just wondering if you guys had connected yet.
We have, and that's actually one of the programs we're looking to run at the ranch with the partnership that we're getting together.
With Bud.
With Bud and David and,
Yes,
yep.
awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So first class, last Tefka's State Guard. My question is twofold. Number one, where are you at on the ranch project, and what is your date of completion, the projected date?
Okay, so financially, the property is about a $100,000 investment for me, and it's $1 million project. But I was looking at just land-wise here in Tarrant County before I went out there and saw this property. I was looking about trying to raise about $1 million just in buying, purchasing the land, clearing out, this, that, and the other. But when I found this property, I said, you know what, we can do everything I need to do for under $1 million there. Have the property going and have other projects going. Well, we're providing services. We have the getaway, we have the retreat. But right now where I'm at, I've already cleared out the house. I've got a 5-minute presentation from our groundbreaking we did September of last year that shows what we did on a penny budget. And it has a 5-minute presentation on the website, The Man of Steel, rstillhope.org. You can see Project Freedom there. But we're in phase 1. So right now what we're doing is I'm holding the property for my organization, Still Hope, to raise $100,000. 150 is what we're looking at. $50,000 will go into the rebuilding of the home and rehabbing the barn. We have a 30 by 32 barn already there. And then from there, we're actually looking to get service animals and stuff like that as well. We have a big project for this, and I'm looking for individuals, corporations, and sponsors that want to help partner with us. But what I'm projecting at is by the end of 2019, I'm going to push it hard, guys, this next coming year. I want to see this project come together, and there's no reason that we can't do it. Because how I'm looking to fund it, and I have the entire PDF, I can send it to Ashley and anybody who's interested for it. But I'm looking to have 1,000 stainless steel stars that would be right there on the front of the property on an 8-foot fence, stainless steel stars that we're going to sell for $1,000. And that's how we're paying for the entire project. So it's about how we can take a penny budget and we can do it with purpose and passion, and what we're doing is priceless. Yes, sir.
So tell us, do you still have the resources that came with the house, water and electric?
Yeah, so we have an existing well on the property. The property is actually in the city limits, which is really remarkable to have that large of an amount. If you're familiar with the Baker Hotel, it's probably about a mile and a half from the Baker Hotel. And then it's about 1 mile away from the Mineral Wells Airport and about a mile away from the Fort Walters entrance. So it's right there. I mean, it's right there. And we have 9 acres. And like I said, I bought this to share this. This is not for my own funding. This is not, I mean, yes, I will receive what I put into it back, but I won't receive a dime on it. Because it's not about me, guys. Anybody else? Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with all of us. It was amazing. So we'd like to present you with a little treat from Albertsons of Lake Worth. Gives us a cookie every time that we have a fabulous speaker. So thanks again. And then we also have a book of business cards that we'd like to give you as well.
Okay.
We'll give that to you after.
Okay.
Thank
I want
you so much.
you guys to